Judge Eleanor Bass brought the gavel down and told the Silver Birch HOA to rip every cabin off my shoreline within 75 days. Paige Kincaid, the president with the perfect bob, and the clipboard smile, went still like somebody had hit pause, and I didn't cheer or grandstand. I just stood there with a folder full of maps and tax receipts and felt a knot in my chest. Finally loosen. That happened. My name is Mason Reed. I live on Cedar Glass Lake outside Renfield, Colorado, in a timber house my dad framed by hand. The lake looks like glass poured into a mountain bowl and set to chill overnight. And for as long as I can remember, we've had a dock with a cedar beam carved Reed Landing 1982. That dock was where I learned to swim and tie a bowline and say goodbye to the men who raised me. I pay taxes on 11.7 acres that wrap the western shore like a crooked sea. I don't hate people, I just like quiet. That's why the wrong kind of quiet slapped me awake on September 3rd at 6:12 a.m. Steam still rising off my coffee. The lake sounded too big. I walked barefoot to the water, and before my brain caught up, I felt it in my stomach. No dock, just pilings like broken knuckles, and a couple of planks drifting into the cattails. Fresh tire ruts curved out toward a cul-de-sac the HOA had carved from lodgepole pine, and there was a brand new sign with watercolor kids in life jackets. Silver Birch Community Project, Lakeside Access for All, which is a nice way of saying we took your shoreline and turned it into a brochure. I drove straight to their office, modular building pretending to be a real one, new carpet fighting with warm printer smell, asked for the president, and out came Paige with a binder hugging her ribs, grapefruit perfume. At 6-something in the morning, her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. She already knew my name. She rolled out a map and tapped the western bank shaded baby blue common recreation and said, like she was reading the weather, "Your dock violated community safety guidelines. We had it removed. If you have documentation, you may submit it through proper channels." And while we were still talking, she slid a clipboard toward me. $450 per day for unauthorized lake use starting today. You know what I mean. I didn't sign. I took a picture, went home and laid my life out on the table like evidence. Water-stained deed photocopy, because the original got lost somewhere between grief and a move. 40-plus years of tax receipts with our legal description printed the same way every year. An old photo of my grandfather at the waterline. When the beam was new enough to shine, I called the county recorder. Got put on hold 3 times, Deja at the desk. Sounded sorry, but tired, Records aren't digitized. The annex is closed for asbestos work. 5 to 7 weeks and maybe 8. I thanked her, then stared at the lockbox like it might make paper appear. The town turned sideways on me in a hurry. The market cashier who always asked about the ospreys scanned my eggs like they might bite the hardware guy who kept lag bolts aside for me. Didn't know where bolts lived. A 6-foot fence went up along my path to the lake with private property. Violators prosecuted every 20 feet. Our 5-minute stroll became an hour on a deer trail that left my shins scratched red. The neighborhood group posted something about a selfish landowner hoarding a resource that belonged to families a lake parent. 2 chimed in with times change. I screenshotted everything and printed it with timestamps because paper holds still. When stories don't, I read late, quiet title, and adverse possession, and how Colorado treats boundary surveys. The difference between a civil engineer and a licensed land surveyor. I filled a legal pad because if I didn't write it down, I'd start yelling and yelling as fireworks. Loud, bright, gone, nothing changed. When Stubborn ran out, I called a lawyer. People love to underestimate Noah Hatcher office above a sandwich shop, that leaks onion smell through the floorboards. He listened without interrupting and then said that plain. This is a quiet title case. We need the original survey or certified copies. Your chain of title and tax history, and somebody with credentials who can point to a line and mean it also. We're going to subpoena the HOA's guts, the way he smiled at that. Told me he'd done it before. The Historical Society's basement smelled like wet cardboard and ink. The archivist used smooth stones to keep old vellum from curling. And there it was. Cedar Glass Lake Survey, 1976, signed by Alonzo Pike, LS Line Straight and Sure. The Western Shore hatched as mine. I stood there longer than I needed because my spine knew this was going to matter. I paid for certified copies. The archivist scribbled an address for Mint Pike, Juniper Meadows, Tortorute. I brought him a cherry pie I didn't bake, and his own work 86 and sharper than people gave him credit for. He traced the north line with a slow finger. October job. Aspens were yellow. Assistant forgot his coat. 11.7 acres. Western Bank is Reed. And then he looked at me and said, the thing that anchored me for the next 3 months, water levels don't move, property boundaries, son. Lawyers will try that trick. Don't let them. He handed me carbon copy field notes he'd saved, because he never throws anything away. And when I asked if he'd testify, he said, of course, like I'd asked if water was wet. We filed quiet title and an emergency motion for preliminary injunction subpoenas for every email and permit and signature. They waved around like shields. In January, Judge Bass walked into the hearing already out of patience. The HOA lawyer tried to lead with confidence and bring facts. Later, Noah asked to see the licensed surveyor's seal on their 2019 plat. The other guy cleared his throat and said their document was certified by a civil engineer with extensive site planning experience. The judge looked over her glasses the way elementary school principals do and said, Counsel, you know, Colorado requires licensed land surveyors for boundary surveys. He managed a yes that wanted to be no, and she granted the injunction, all construction frozen. Nobody blocks my access. The temperature in the room changed that afternoon. An offer landed, $400,000. If I'd sign away the Western Bank, I told Noah no before he hit the last zero. This isn't about cash, it's about my grandfather's line. Discovery came in like a tide and left a shiny piece of truth in the rack line, a single sentence in an email thread between Page and their lawyer. He can't find the original deed if we fill the shoreline. Before he gets records. We can lean on adverse possession and the county's plat. Read it once and it punches you. Read it twice and you taste every word. Like something bitter, they weren't confused. They were betting I'd run out of paper. That was the twist for me, not a misunderstanding, a plan. March brought a packed courtroom HOA folks in matching community over claims shirts, like it was a pep rally. I wore a charcoal suit that felt like a costume. Noah put the 1976 survey on the screen and stacked tax receipts on the doc cam year by year. Like tree rings. Alonzo rolled in with a nurse, irritated at the elevator, then swore in, and talked about prisms and slope corrections and how they dragged chain on that stretch because the terrain throws lazy errors. These are the lines they haven't moved. The HOA lawyer tried erosion and fading memories and honest mistakes. Alonzo tapped his field notes and said, I don't need to remember. I wrote it down. Water comes and goes, idle does not. Noah had me tell the doc story, the wrong quiet, the pilings. Paige sliding me a clipboard at 6 something in the morning like she was seating me at a fundraiser. Kept my voice level, like when the osprey circle, and you don't want to spook the moment. Then he put the email on the screen, and the sentence hung there like a confession on poster board. A man in a matching shirt half rose and said, "You told us this was legal." Before his neighbor pulled him down, the gavel cracked for order. Paige took the stand and kept trying to sound reasonable. Noah asked if she had sought out the original survey. She said that wasn't her job. Asked if she knew the difference between an engineer and a licensed land surveyor. She relied on professional advice. Asked, "Who ordered my dock, removed the board, asked for the safety report?" "The one that found the dock unsafe." She blinked hard, like she was diving for a better answer. The judge didn't drag it out. The court quiet titles. The property to Mr. Reed. The western shoreline described in the 1976 survey, and subsequent chain of title is his. The cabins constitute. Trespass, remove all structures placed on Mr. Reed's land within 75 days. Pay $680,000 in damages and costs. Do not impede his access. Gavel thunder, then quiet, the kind of quiet you get when you finally stop bracing. I walked out into sun that made my eyes water. Reporters wanted sound bites. I said I was grateful the court followed the law and meant it. And I also meant this other thing. I didn't say out loud. I know why people loved the idea. Families want water. Kids want docks. People move here because they want the morning. I get when the lake is flat and the coffee's hot. But a vote at a board meeting doesn't turn my boundary into a suggestion. Force dressed up as community is still force. If you want something, you ask. You buy it. You build on land. You own or you accept that sometimes the answer is no. And it's still fair. You know what I mean? The order gives them 75 days, maybe, as you hear this. The cabins are stacked on flatbeds like oversized coffins. Maybe someone's mad. I wrecked their vacation plan. Maybe someone else sleeps better. Because a system mostly did what it says on the label. Water doesn't care, either way. It reflects whoever stands over it. Today, it reflected a woman learning rules aren't just for other people, a judge who waited and then wrote, and a man deciding that being called selfish costs less than giving away his family's name to a banner. Tell me what you think. Is an HOA's idea of community worth more than a private boundary held for 3 generations? Should lakes be for everyone by default? Even if a vote can redraw your deed line. Have you seen Power get pretty? So you wouldn't notice it was Power, drop your story in the comments. Push back. If you want, argue with me. Argue with each other. And if you want more true fights, where paper and patience matter, hit subscribe, share this with that one neighbor who needs to see it, and tell me where you're watching from.